All right, let's talk about Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, who, listen, you win the game, and it's better to have an underwhelming win than an underwhelming loss, right? Teams throughout the season are going to have games where they play down to their competition, and if you can get the win, especially when it's overseas, you still feel good about it. But really, I think their defense is what should still feel good about this, right? The offense wasn't great, and let's talk about some of the issues that happened, and then also some of the good things that happened, how they were able to still get this victory, make enough plays, but also what to work on. Let's jump into it. First, things got off to a rough start here. You see Bo Nix is going to flip this one. Actually, a nice play by Bo Nix that results in a fumble. So one of those as a quarterback, you wish you didn't make the nice play because that resulted in a completion, which resulted in Jets football right there. So, not ideal there, especially for a team that hasn't had a takeaway all season. But again, sometimes it happens. Although heading over here, I think this sequence is the good one to kind of show a lot of what was going wrong. So what's going to happen here is it's a first down and 10. In fact, you see Bo Nix has already scrambled, gotten some yards. Things are looking good. Looks like he can get the first down here, right? Well, first he slides a little bit short. So it's actually going to be second down and 1. Okay, not the end of the world. Again, you want to protect yourself. You're playing a team that's maybe not the best. You would have liked to see him get the extra yard, get the first down. But okay, 2nd and 1. The Broncos are going to run the ball right here. They're not going to get the first down. So now it's a 3rd down and 1. And then there's a penalty, which pushes it back to a 3rd down and 6. So now you have this situation, 3rd down and 6. Play's already started. But Bo Nix, okay, whatever. Still have to make this play work, right? Watch as he's makes a nice throw. They're able to get the completion, except you see the flag icon. That was a holding penalty. So now it's 3rd and 16. And they're way out of field goal range at this point, going 15 yards further back from where they once were before all these penalties. Nix is going to flip it, and they're going to gain some yards, but ultimately not enough, and they have to punt this football away. Just a mess, quite frankly, by the Broncos on that series. And that's what I saw when I was watching this game, was just they were beating themselves. And it kind of wasn't the story because the Jets were really beating themselves. But the Jets are an 0-6 team who you expect to beat themselves. The Broncos are a 4-2 team, and these are the things they have to clean up if they're going to be, hey, very good chance you win the division, right? But you ultimately, if you're going to go far in the playoffs, you can't make these mistakes, really. Heading over here, penalties were just a big deal in this game. Like, they have to clean up the penalties. This one's a 2nd down and 10. Bo Nix is going to make a nice throw on this one, as you see, but the flag icon will come up, and that was a holding penalty, setting up a 2nd and 20. They actually were able to convert a 4th down a couple plays later and score a touchdown on this drive, but nonetheless, it's a mistake that took a good play off the board. Of course, the most costly penalty, the one that legitimately cost them points, a holding call in the end zone. You can't hold in these situations. You have to know and just trust your quarterback that he will get rid of the football. You have to make sure you don't get called for a holding penalty here. So that was, again, a mistake that flipped the score. You were up a point, now you're down a point. And also heading over here, just some this has happened only twice, but twice is still kind of too many. So this is a 3rd down and 5 situation. Again, you can gain some yards here. You can try and get at least in field goal range, make it a clean 7-point lead. Bo Nix is going to take the snap, flips it to his halfback, just looks a little off there, ends up getting dropped. Again, do they convert the first down on that play? I think they might. It looked relatively well blocked. At the very least, they probably gain enough yards. You feel comfortable going for it. They went for it on 4th and 5 in a similar situation, decided not to here and punted it away. Also, this one, a 3rd down and 4. This one, again, was dropped and for the better. That play wasn't going to work regardless. But these screen passes, which are designed to help you out in these situations, backfired. And when you're going up against a team that's had a secondary who struggled, and you're running these screen passes that are backfiring, well, that's where things get kind of disappointing if you're a Broncos fan. As for more X's and O's stuff, first the Jets were playing some zone coverage, and I thought the Broncos and Sean Payton, he's just so good at scheming up against zone coverage. Like, watch what's going to happen on this play. So he's going to have a receiver, number 1 receiver, Cortland Sutton, running kind of a route, just trying to take attention away. Purely a setup route, which setup routes are so important in the NFL, probably the most underrated part of football. And then you'll have a receiver go to hopefully where Sutton now no longer is, and hopefully where those defensive backs no longer are. That's the way this play is designed to work, and this is Nate Adkins who is running this route. Watch as when it begins, it's well executed. Adkins was kind of faking as though he was blocking because you have a receiver underneath that the Jets thought the Broncos were going to go towards. Because of this, the middle players going underneath, the deep players going over the middle. Nobody covers the tight end / fullback Nate Adkins, and he is able to get into the end zone for a touchdown. So give him some credit. Give Sean Payton a lot of credit, though. Really good stuff from future Hall of Fame coach, right? So then going over here, what the Jets did, which was smart, which they did this a lot in the first half too, but especially in the second half, a lot of man coverage, just trusting that they can beat the Broncos receivers. You talk about Denver, and kind of a lot of times what you talk about with their biggest weakness, it's the lack of a complete receiving core. They have guys that you like in certain situations, but it isn't a top tier receiving core. And here, when Nix takes the snap on a 3rd and 6, I mean, what do you do here? Again, it's not like you can't throw the football. There's tight windows. There's not 0 windows, but nothing's easy for him here. I believe that's the route he wants to look towards, which I think makes sense. It's Courtland Sutton. I mean, you hope that you can make a throw and he can then fall forward and pick up the first down. Sauce Gardner isn't too far behind him, though. To make matters worse, this pass is incomplete. And this is the one thing I would look at as like a real negative for the Broncos. The mistakes you can fix, right? But this, I don't know, maybe you go out and try and add someone at the trade deadline or something like that, because I do think I would just like a little bit more, especially against the Jets secondary that's really struggled to start the year. But let's finish strong, because the Broncos finished strong. Hey, they ultimately were down in the fourth quarter. Bo Nix had to make some plays, and I thought that the Broncos, a couple of drives, the touchdown drive, I already showed you the nice play there. And I thought this drive, we saw Denver be able to make plays. So first, this is a 2nd down and 10. They need someone to step up. So Nix is going to take the snap. He is going to look. And is there a window? A little bit. This is Troy Franklin, who, again, did not have a great rookie season. Has had some moments where he's shown up this year, and they need him on this play. And watch Franklin go up, makes the grab, and falls forward, picks up the first down as well. Really good stuff there from Troy Franklin. Again, they needed a play here, down a point in the fourth quarter, and they were able to get that one. Also, just a couple plays later, this is the 3rd down and 8 here, so really need a play on this one. Census man coverage once again. You have, and this is something that drives me crazy as as someone who watches this stuff a lot. So linebacker is covering the halfback who's running a wheel route. Okay, that's something you do sometimes, right? That's not crazy, but the halfback is Marvin Mims Jr. And when Marvin Mims Jr. is lined up as a halfback, he is a wide receiver who is lined up as a halfback. And it's easier said than done. And sometimes you don't have the right personnel out to stop this. But if you as an offensive coach can figure out how to get this situation, it's just so difficult for a linebacker to cover a wide receiver out in space. Watch as when Nix takes the snap, you see for Mims. I mean, I will say this. There is space here. You have to make a perfect throw, though, because it's 3rd and 8. If Nix forces Mims to slow down to make the grab, I don't know if they get the first down, even though you do have space. But Nix right on the money, and really good stuff by Mims. Mims even breaks the tackle, picks up a big gain, well more than just the 8 yards. So really good stuff by the Broncos, executing very well, and also good stuff by Sean Payton. Again, fooling the Jets. Ideally, the Jets could have had at least a safety in that situation, but maybe didn't realize in time, maybe didn't have the right personnel out there. But ultimately, they were able to make enough plays. Sean Payton was able to outsmart the Jets' defensive coaching enough times. They were able to get the win, but the mistakes just have to be cleaned up. Again, you beat the Jets. Literally, all 6 teams who have played the Jets have beaten them this season. So, while a win is still a win, and it's still a good thing, you still have Kansas City looming in the background, right? You still want to make sure that you can convert on some of this stuff. So they're going to have to make something happen. But hey, at the same time, you're also 4-2, so you have that going for you. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.